Psychic Holistic Spotlight. I'm your host, Josie Way. Co-hosting with me tonight is Ken Demers, and our guest is Mary Daisley. Now, as I'm sitting here chatting with her, I'm discovering various things that you do.
Well, thank you for having me, first off. I do appreciate the time and the effort of putting a show together. But what can I answer for you?
When did you first start with
knowing things?
Yeah.
I was a kid. Mm-hmm. I am what's a natural or just from childhood, knowing things, feeling things. And it kind of just grew stronger. I was very lucky. Spirit led me into different avenues that were very, very positive for me. Mm-hmm. And this, again, Spirit's been a great teacher of mine. So
you started working with Spirit directly?
I didn't know it was Spirit at the time. I just thought these were great ideas. And
you were brilliant, just like I was.
I think when you're young, and I actually started reading professionally in my 20s. So I've been very blessed as far as having a pretty long career. But as I said, Spirit kind of led me in the right direction, and from one thing, then it dominoed into another thing and another thing, and it was really a great process for me. What I mean by that is I took a class from 30 years ago, and it was a Quincy Junior College class by Richard Lanza, and it was Your Psychic Potential. He owned a store, offered me a job, and that was opportunity knocking. And I was there for 10 years. I got my Reiki degrees. I met everyone from Native American shamans to Tibetan Buddhist
they all came
monks,
to the store?
all coming to the store. So, you have to pay attention, and when it pulls you, you need to go.
Well, what you're talking about is one of the things that most people have a real problem with, and that's trust. Trusting these messages.
Yes.
And, he tells a story about trust that he talks about bumbling trust in this concrete room.
People tell me to buy Microsoft in 1972, twice. And I said, oh, that was really interesting. And the first time Spirit had talked to me, was telling me to buy Microsoft. It cost me $100 million because I didn't.
Well, that's a lesson.
But anyway.
He heard a voice in a solid concrete room, and there was no one there.
Yeah,
He didn't
it's kind of
listen.
interesting. Well, I was very taken by surprise by it. It had never happened before.
That can happen.
Not only do you, from a short conversation we had, you're a mediumistic and you're talking to people's spirits, but you also, when somebody passes that spirit, you're talking to them for...
No.
You're not?
No. Mediumship is not every so often somebody will come in, but it's never been my strong suit.
Okay.
I tend to be more... the word just disappeared from me. It's I'm more
like
towards seeing the future, or I tend to. I'm more to that.
A serious type thing.
Yes.
People are not going to know what that means. Give us a nice definition.
I am precognitive. Okay, and if there are any sci-fi fans, the Minority Report, they had 3 precogs, and there were they were predicting crime before it happened.
Yeah, I saw the movie.
So that's precognitive is more of what I am.
Explain that. How does that work?
When someone sits down with me for a reading, based on all the decisions that they've made up until sitting down with me, I give them we'll say next 9 months, 12 months, 15 months of what's most likely to happen. The reason I say most likely to happen is because if they decide, hey, you know what, she's, full of crock, then they can make changes and none of that will come true.
Yeah.
Have
It's
you
not
ever
written in stone. A lot of precognitive.
a change of will
readings.
is all it takes to change
Yeah.
the future?
Right, which is why I also do possibilities. It's like I have 3 choices. Okay, think 1, I'll work on that. Think 2, I will read on that. Think 3, I'll read on that. And then they can judge what is the best possible outcome.
Have you ever, if you have somebody sitting in front of you, have you ever extended their options into future lives?
Into future lives, no. I tend not to.
Would you?
I haven't tried. So anything's
We're gonna
possible.
have to have you try.
Okay. I'm up for anything.
Okay.
He's gotten various suggestions of what's coming in his future. And
Yeah.
but you're still here,
I'm still here. And
You
it's,
got to take care of
and
here
it kind
before
of changes
tomorrow.
a little bit. The future stuff changes a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, if
Because you've changed.
Because more awareness of the potential.
I'm a believer in the soul contract, and you may have cleared, 5 weeks ago, 5 months ago, you still had something in your contract that you hadn't done or dealt with,
Okay.
and maybe by now you have. So,
Yeah, for me, I've pretty much fulfilled most of my soul contract. So everything is just choice for me.
Or termination.
Well, apparently they'll leave me stay here for a while longer.
Okay. It's not a bad thing,
Yeah, I mean, I have little things, but all the big things,
well, that's a good thing.
yeah, all the big things I seem to have,
But
and a lot
are
of
you
the karma.
sure that you've satisfied all these obligations that you chose to do when you came in? Or are they things that we dealt with somebody like
That
her?
I just overlooked and
No, that you
left
don't know
behind.
about because the time isn't appropriate for you to be aware of them.
Oh, there may be, if I make certain choices now, there may be different events that occur in the future. Now, if I buy Powerball
It's not a bad thing.
and win it, I will definitely do some things differently. There's a lot of traveling I have to do.
A new boyfriend?
No, I'm not going to buy a man.
Anyway, so how do most people perceive your gifts? Do they understand them?
Are you talking about somebody who sits down for a reading,
Yeah.
or people just in my vicinity?
Well, in general, and of that general, you're going to have a certain percentage that are totally fascinated by your gifts. And gee, what can she tell me? And how are they? What do they perceive when they're sitting down with you? What do they think is going to happen?
Well, again, I usually explain that up until sitting down with me, all the decisions they've made, this is where things are going, and I do a seasonal spread that I created.
Yep.
So I do, we'll say summer, fall, winter, spring. And usually I ask them to do the questions later because I find time is the answer for everything. What they're looking to find out is happening in their timeline. Or I'll say, this is going to be later than you think. This is going to happen 2, 3, 4 weeks out because of whatever I'm seeing.
But do they even know what's coming?
Well, if they have a game plan for their life, or they're looking for confirmation that, making this change in job or whatever is best for them, then, yeah, they have more of an understanding of what they're looking for versus...
I find a lot of people don't have game plans.
Well, they've put things in action, even by inaction.
Mm-hmm. You're right there. You know, no choice is a choice.
Yes.
Okay. Do you do it on yourself?
I
You
don't
use
read.
your gifts for yourself, I guess would be the best way to...
Well, I listen when something goes, you really should do this, and I do that. I don't read for myself. I don't tend to pull cards or do a card a day or anything. If I really am struggling, I'll go to some of my reader friends and say, hey, do you want to trade readings?
Yeah.
Or something like that. That way you can
It's a nice
get...
hobby.
It is.
Frequently close to yourself.
Yes.
And your ego can get in the way. And,
Most definitely.
and I've had so many conversations with my ego about getting in the way. Mm-hmm. And I just learned to accept it, that I have to reach out to others or wait for, when I hear something, tell me, move forward now, do this, do that.
Right.
And they're never wrong for me.
Yeah, too many times, even now, it's like, I should have listened.
Now, her and the previous guest, they were talking about communicating with angels and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're in other dimensions,
Yes, they are.
and that's kind of where you're operating from.
Yeah. Who
In
are
a
you getting
sense.
your messages from? Are they guides? Are they angels? Ascended masters?
Sometimes it's the person's spirit guides.
Right.
When I do readings, I look off to my right side, and I just start talking about what I see, what I feel, what I smell sometimes. Somebody will pick the cards, and I'm picking up the cards. I don't read off what the card is. I'm reading their energy off of it.
Right.
So it'll be like XYZ or whatever's going on. Is this going on? And is there somebody who you don't trust? Pay attention to that. Whatever I'm getting.
In other words, you're guiding them in a way where that if they're doing something that's not in their best interest, you can tell them that that's not serving you.
Correct. I'll say, it's like, here's a pothole. I can tell you how to avoid it, but it's up to you to avoid it.
Yeah.
So, I have said, this, I don't think this is the best person for you or career for you, or if I'm seeing something that's, they're fighting themselves.
How do they take it, though? I find I've had a lot of friends who I've done readings for, and unfortunately, they want me to tell them
What they want to know.
that so-and-so is right for them, even though I see that so-and-so is not right for them.
Romantically.
Yes, usually romantically.
Well, it's funny because when I talk about relationships or even talking about careers, I find that a lot of people are in careers that they don't want and went for the money and are now looking for the permission to work more of their calling. So it's like I feel like I write up a lot of permission slips, and as far as relationships are concerned, I see them as, investment worthy or not investment worthy.
Right.
And I'll say, this is not investment worthy. If you want to go and enjoy, have some fun, keep your heart safe, do not invest your heart.
Yeah.
Or I'll say, this is someone investment worthy. This has got great longevity in it.
Now, if there's somebody in someone's life that they're supposed to be with, but they're not interested in them, how do you tell them? I don't want to use the word soulmate, but somewhere out there's somebody that's perfect for her. And she say, well, I don't want a relationship. So, and she's supposed to
How many times has she turned you down?
Well, anyway, you're saying that you come across a lot that, okay, they're with somebody, but how about if they're not with somebody that they should be with?
Actually, I've never ran into that specifically, but I run into people who have, I believe in the soul village. We travel in circles. We're constantly meeting the same people. Your brother was your father last time around. And
my son was 5 times with me.
Well,
different relationships.
Right. So sometimes what is a very audible click of souls that does not work out, I usually say, well, in there, somebody owed somebody. One owed the other a debt. Karma brought you together. You're
Resolved it.
well, it's resolved, or the fact that maybe it was that you break up was your karmic contract.
That was the resolve.
Yeah. So I think soulmate, the term has been misused and has been Hollywoodized, so to speak. And they think only soulmates can be your true love. And your soulmate could be your soul sister, your soul cousin. We find our family even though there's no blood relationship.
I only know one person that knows that she met her soulmate, and she was probably somebody like your age, and she met this guy. She's white Irish, and she met this guy that was 22-year-old black guy, and she says he was my soulmate. She says the intensity of the relationship between us, but it wasn't something that was ever going to be a practical thing. That's the only person I've ever met
Had that
actually
audible
met
click.
a soulmate.
Yeah, I don't
Kind of
think.
interesting.
I don't think a lot of our soulmates have incarnated.
It's possible, but
sometimes that happens. And what happens with soul groups is someone has some karma to repay. And there's another person who's a good friend of theirs in soul. So they may pop in as their son, as a friend. I think that's why we incarnate so much, because we love our soul groups. And, it's, oh, come on, I'll join you. I'll catch you in 20 years, and you hop in.
Right.
It's because one of the questions I've been looking at is why do people incarnate? It's so challenging. And
Lessons and experiences.
Yeah, well, I have called myself a glutton for punishment. I'm like, I mustn't have been thinking when I did this.
That's quite possible, but
I was thinking of everybody else around me.
So.
But anyway, it's neat stuff.
I think so. I mean, I've been doing this for 30 years.
Do you get tired of it?
Not at all. I love it.
What's your next step?
I am possibly looking into becoming a widow coach, and it's widows who...
Definition.
Yeah.
What is that?
Well, it's widows who are further down in being a widow and becoming life coaches, but it's coaching other widows.
Because they can't handle the grief?
It's an unpleasant club to find yourself in.
Quite an unpleasant club.
I haven't been in it, so I don't know.
No, I am,
And I'm sorry.
And the other club that I'm in that is more painful is parents who've lost children.
Right.
Those are clubs that you can't understand each other till you've been there.
Yeah, I can.
But my son loves it up there.
He must visit all the time.
He does.
Well then.
So that's one of the good things about being a medium. I don't have to run out to mediums all the time.
Right.
Okay, so you're going to learn, or you already know how to train other people to work with other widows?
I am...
Is that kind of what I heard?
Well, almost. I am looking to learn and get the credentials of becoming a life coach for widows as a widow coach.
Where in the world would you go for classes in that?
There are, this may sound weird, but many funeral parlors have grief resolution groups.
Yes.
And
also hospitals.
And it's set up, I think, through it's like a hospice kind of thing, for people that have been through the loss of a partner. And
I've met people
you can go to the meetings
so consumed by the loss and grief that...
But there are groups available.
Not only that, but it's detrimental to the person that's passed over.
Oh, I know.
It is.
Because they're holding them here and they can't move on. And
Correct.
most people don't kind of think about that and deal with that side of it.
Well, letting go is one of the hardest things to do.
It is.
It's my major lesson this lifetime. Learning to let go. So, I'm becoming kindergarten age at doing it.
Yeah.
Slowly getting there. But
okay, what else can we? I'm still intrigued by the issue of time and what you do, because that's not something that I can't remember anybody in the last 30 years I've been on this show talking about that.
When I'm in a reading and I'm in that zone, I can see, we'll say, calendars. And on any given calendar, there'd be like, okay, October's coming up, we got a pumpkin, a jack-o'-lantern for Halloween. So it'll either be before Halloween or after Halloween, before Thanksgiving, after Thanksgiving. I see, we'll say, time markers, which are usually the holidays that are in.
Something that
and I
tells you
get
when.
and I feel it. It's like, this feels like it's really just around the corner. It feels like it's, any day now, any week now, that type of thing. I feel whether something is close at hand or further away, and I also can feel delays.
Now, does that take you into dimension? Can you use that for dimensional work also? You had mentioned dimensional earlier, so...
Well, Albert Einstein had mentioned that time was the fourth dimension.
Okay.
And in his statement is everything is happening at the same time. It is our perception that it becomes linear.
and we should be able to read it.
And for
Well, some people do.
Yeah.
and for whatever reason, the way my gift developed, it was dealing with that, dealing with feeling time or seeing time.
Now, we only have 5 minutes left in the show, so I want to ask you, how do we contact you?
Okay. My website is marydaisley.com. It's brand new and redone, and you are able to request an appointment reading. I do phone readings. I do house parties.
How about a phone number? I'm old school. I don't do computers.
Off the top of my head, I'm very terribly sorry. I don't remember it.
You don't know your own phone number.
I don't
We
know
never
my
call
own
ourselves.
business line number,
And there's a difference, I guess.
I guess. Or they could
How do
reach
they,
me.
what's the name of the business if they're going to look? I guess some people still have, well, would it be on the internet if they look?
marydaisley.com, or they can email me, marynavigator@yahoo.com.
What do you navigate? Time?
I navigate a reading for people's best options. It's like being a GPS. I don't tell them where to go. I tell them, what's going to happen if they go.
You're about to crash into a bridge. Stop.
Yes.
Do you foresee major problems crashing into bridges?
I have seen one extremely terrible event. I have a witness list that I keep, and whenever I get very big predictions, I go and I write them down to my witness list, who then, because anybody can say, oh wait, I saw that after the fact. So my witness list will say, yes, she saw this 2 weeks beforehand.
30 years ago, I used to give readings, and I was still learning, I guess you would say. And I was doing a reading for a lady friend of mine, and I could see her being beaten up by her soon-to-be husband. And I didn't know what to do with the information, and I didn't give it to her. And I never gave readings after that because I didn't want the responsibility of doing that. So,
Well, when you have gifts, sometimes you do see things or hear things that you wish you didn't.
But you're not responsible for it. You didn't put that into play.
No.
So,
yeah, it's hard. What you're doing is, it sounds easy. It's not.
oh, it is not. And the other thing is, breaking, we'll say, bad news to somebody, you have to do it very delicately.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes in a reading I'll just say, I have some unpleasant news. Do you want me to skip over it? Do you not want to hear it? They'll tell me.
Okay, that works.
Yeah.
Is that common? That people don't want to hear it?
No,
They want to hear it.
they want to hear it.
Yeah, they don't want to be surprised.
Right.
So I'm
I need to
intrigued by
thank
this
you
dimension
again.
business.
Yeah, see, he wants to know what's going on.
Well,
He's going to come
what's
to you and
going-
say, if I do this, what's going to happen if I do
What is your
that?
lifetime doing on another planet? It's in another dimension. Past, present, future.
True, but I am not aware of that.
Too bad.
Yes.
There's enough she's aware of,
I'm not knocking it. I'm
We
just saying that
can't all know everything.
I just intrigued by certain
We
things.
can't all be me. I'm only kidding. If I knew 1/4 of what I would like to know, but I've been gifted with a lot. So, but when it comes to me, I'm persistent with questions. And I think everyone who opens up, when they realize how much they can learn about themselves, likes to ask spirit questions about their lives and what
you're
they're doing.
You're doing this with your life, but what else are you capable of doing with this life that you don't even know you're capable of doing? That's the intriguing thing.
Okay, well, that'll have to be another show.
Okay. We'll wait.
We'll have to find out somebody who can do that work. But for right now, we have a seer named Mary Daisley.
And I thank you very much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for being our guest.
And hopefully somebody learned something.
Let's hope, yes, that time is not fixed. There are some things that are going to happen no matter what we do.
True.
But
Well, some things that we come into these life